There's something a little bit eerie about a laundromat late at night, isn't there? The hum of the dryers, the smell of soap. It's a familiar chore, but when you're the only one there, surrounded by rows of silent machines and buzzing fluorescent lights, things can feel off. It's in these quiet, late hours that the ordinary can become a nightmare. What happens when the lights suddenly go out and you're not alone? Or when the person you think is in charge is hiding a terrifying secret? These three stories are a chilling reminder that sometimes the most mundane places are the scariest. They'll make you think twice before ever doing your laundry alone again.
Story 1. The power outage. My apartment's washer broke right before midterms, so I had no choice but to head to the 24-hour laundromat down the street. I went around 10 p.m., hoping it would be empty, a quiet place to study while my clothes washed. And when I got there, I was right. The place was totally deserted, just rows of silver machines humming under the sterile lights. It was almost peaceful. I loaded my laundry, popped the coins in, and cracked open my textbook. For about 30 minutes, the only sounds were the sloshing of the washer and the turning of pages. It was perfect. And then, the door creaked open. A man stepped inside. He was tall and thin, and he walked with this weird, slow gait, like he was moving through molasses. But the strangest thing? He didn't have a laundry basket. He wasn't carrying anything at all. He just walked to the middle of the room and stood there, looking around with a grin that never quite reached his eyes. I felt that immediate gut punch of fear. I tried to ignore him, hiding my face in my book, but I could feel him watching me. The silence in the room suddenly felt heavy and wrong. He started walking towards me, his footsteps quiet on the linoleum floor. He stopped a few feet away, that same weird grin on his face. The lights above us started to flicker. "Looks like a storm's coming," he said, his voice a low, gravelly whisper. "You know, the power in these old buildings, it's not very reliable." As he said it, the flickering got worse, turning the room into a strobe light. Flash, dark, flash, dark. With every flash, he seemed to be a little bit closer. And then, just like he said, the lights cut out completely. The dryers stopped humming. The washer went silent. The room was plunged into a thick, suffocating darkness. My heart was pounding in my chest. I couldn't see anything. Before I could even think, a hand grabbed my arm, and its grip was like a vice. "See?" the man whispered, his voice right next to my ear. "Nothing to be afraid of in the dark." His other hand clamped over my mouth, muffling the scream caught in my throat. I was pinned to the chair, frozen in terror, the rough skin of his palm scraping my lips. His breathing was hot and ragged against my cheek. Seconds felt like an eternity. I thought, this is it. This is how I die. Just as I was losing all hope, the lights buzzed and flickered back on, and they stayed on. The room was bright and fluorescent again. The man instantly let me go. He stepped back and smoothed down his shirt like nothing had happened. That awful grin slid back onto his face. "Told you it would be fine," he said, his voice totally calm. Then he turned, walked slowly to the door, and vanished into the night. He left me alone, trembling and gasping for air in the horrible, sudden silence of the brightly lit laundromat. I didn't even grab my laundry. I just ran.
But a stranger in the dark isn't the only threat. Sometimes, the real danger is someone you think you know, someone hiding right in plain sight. Story 2. The Owner's Double Life. My name is Mark. I'm a night shift worker, and my regular trip to the laundromat led to a horrifying discovery. My local spot was an old, family-owned place run by a friendly old guy named Mr. Henderson. I liked going late around midnight when it was quiet, but one night something just felt off. The open sign was on, but the place was completely empty. Not a single other customer, which was strange, even for that late. An uneasy feeling started creeping in as I loaded my clothes. As I sat down to wait, I heard a noise from the back room, the one marked "Employees Only." It was a scuffling sound, then a loud, heavy thud. It sounded like a sack of cement hitting the floor. I froze. Was Mr. Henderson back there? Maybe he just dropped something heavy. A second later, the back room door opened, and Mr. Henderson stepped out. At least I thought it was him. He was wearing the usual blue polo shirt with the Laundromat's logo, but I had this weird, nagging feeling that the man who'd greeted me earlier that week had been wearing a red one. I shook it off. The man gave me a friendly wave and a big, easy smile. "Working hard or hardly working?" he joked, his voice sounding perfectly normal. He then turned and disappeared back into the employee room, closing the door behind him. I didn't think much more of it. I finished my cycle, folded my clothes, and went home, the strange noise all but forgotten. The next morning, though, my quiet street was filled with police cars, all parked in front of the laundromat. The entrance was cordoned off with yellow tape. Worried, I went over and asked an officer what was going on. What the officer said next made my blood run cold. The owner, Mr. Henderson, had been found dead inside. He'd been killed sometime during the night, discovered in the back storage room. I felt sick. I told the police everything about my visit, the thud I heard, and the man I saw. As I described the friendly guy in the blue polo shirt, the officer's expression turned grim. They showed me a picture of the real Mr. Henderson. The man in the photo was the owner I had always known, but the man I'd seen last night, it wasn't him. I realized with a jolt of pure horror that the person who waved at me, who had joked with me so casually, wasn't the owner at all. He was almost certainly the killer. He had committed the murder just moments before stepping out, thrown on a spare uniform, and calmly pretended to be his victim, while the real Mr. Henderson's body was lying just a few feet away. I had been completely alone in that laundromat with a murderer who was impersonating the man he had just killed. But not all laundromat horrors involve criminals or strangers. Some are much older, woven into the very fabric of the building itself, waiting in the stains that refuse to wash out. Story 3. The Haunted Laundry. My name is Alex, and I used to work at a very old laundromat in a small, historic town. The place had that vintage charm, but it also had a deep, heavy feeling of sadness you just couldn't shake. From my very first week, I noticed her. A frail, silent old woman who came in every single Tuesday. She always carried the same wicker basket filled with old clothes covered in stains. But these weren't just any stains. They were a deep, rusty red, and they seemed to form strange patterns. One week, it was a shirt with a dark bloom of red right over the chest. The next, a pair of pants with a horrible, sprawling stain down one leg. Driven by a morbid curiosity, I started paying closer attention. The stains didn't just look like something terrible had happened. They seemed to tell a story. I started digging into old local news reports. A knot of ice formed in my stomach when I found them. A man had died of a heart attack a decade ago, clutching his chest, the exact same pattern as the stain on the shirt. A cyclist had been killed in a hit and run, his leg mangled, just like the stain on the pants. It seemed like every single garment was a ghostly echo of a local tragedy. My curiosity turned into an obsession, and the atmosphere in the laundromat grew heavier and more oppressive. I started seeing things, quick shadows moving in the reflection of the machine doors, whispers that seemed to come from the drains. I felt like I was being watched all the time. The gentle hum of the dryers started to sound like a low, sad moan. The place wasn't just a laundromat anymore. It felt like a waiting room for the dead, and I was the only one who could see them. One stormy night, with rain lashing the windows, the old woman came in. This time, her basket was overflowing. I couldn't take it anymore. With my hands shaking, I walked up to her. "Who are you?" I whispered. "What are these clothes?" The old woman looked up at me, and for the first time her eyes weren't empty. They were ancient and filled with a sorrow I couldn't comprehend. She didn't say a word. She just lifted a gnarled finger and pointed at a running washing machine. I looked, and my blood turned to ice. Inside the machine, swirling in the soapy water, I didn't see clothes. I saw faces, the twisted, screaming faces of the dead, their ghostly bodies tangled together, trapped in a never-ending rinse cycle. I understood everything in that one horrible moment. The old woman wasn't just a customer. She was some kind of guardian, a spectral keeper of the dead. And the laundromat? It was a portal, a place where the spirits of those who died tragically were cleansed before they could move on. Just as this realization hit me, the main lights blew out with a deafening pop, plunging the room into the hellish red glow of the emergency lights. The screams from the machine grew louder, echoing off the walls, joined by dozens of other voices. The air grew ice cold, and ghostly figures began to emerge from the walls, their hollow eyes all fixed on me. I had discovered a secret that was never meant for the living, and now this gateway for the restless dead was not going to let me leave. A power outage, a hidden crime, a haunted portal. 3 stories that turn a place for a simple chore into a stage for our deepest fears. It really makes you wonder what's going on in the middle of the night when you're just trying to get your laundry done. What stories are hiding in the clothes people leave behind? And who are you really alone with when the door locks and the machines start to spin? Have you ever had a creepy experience at a laundromat? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. If you found these stories as unsettling as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more true horror, and share this video with someone who hates doing laundry alone. And if you have your own story you'd like to share, check out the submission link in the description. Stay safe out there. You never know what's waiting for you in the most ordinary places.